Today I'm going to be making my favourite recipe of the moment, which is veggie noodles. It's basically spiralised courgettes for your noodles and then some lovely vegetables with a yummy kind of oriental style sauce. So I'm going to start with the sauce. The first thing you're going to do is you want 1 tablespoon of tamari or namashoyu. The difference between tamari and namashoyu is that tamari is pasteurised. Namashoyu is cooked, but then it's fermented and not pasteurised, so it still has good live bacteria in it. And then we're going to use, you can use any cold pressed vegetable oil. I'm going to use olive oil here, but you can use sunflower oil, hemp oil, any kind of oil you want. Just kind of be aware that the oil is going to flavour the food as well. And we are doing 3 tablespoons of oil. The important thing to remember as well, I mean, I know a lot of people worry about the calories in kind of some raw foods, so like oils and nuts and things like that, but raw calories are completely different to cooked calories. You know, and a banana and a boiled sweet might have very similar calorific quantities, but your body reacts completely differently to the banana than it does to the boiled sweet, which is essentially poison. So you can't really think of fats and calories in the same way once you're eating raw food as you have done in the past. Okay, so we're going to put in some chilli, and you know, really, if you've got one of those little small hot chilies, you can put in one of those, or I'm just going to use about 1 inch of this larger chilli. I mean, this is one of the chilli about that size, and again, it really sort of depends on your tastes when it comes to how spicy you like things. Take the seeds out if you're not that keen on too much spice, and maybe only put a little bit of chilli in. It's totally up to you. And we're going to do all this by hand, but you can do it in a blender or a small spice grinder type Maggi mix thing. So we're going to use half a clove of garlic, or 1 small clove. This is quite a kind of fat clove, so we're just going to use half this one. And I'm just going to slice it quite finely for now. And then we're going to do a centimetre of ginger, which is about that much. Again, you might decide that you want more or less, depending on your tastes. I love it quite gingery, so I tend to put quite a lot of ginger in mine. And initially what I'm doing is I'm just roughly chopping these. I'm not chopping them that finely because now I'm going to go in and actually rock my knife across them all and chop them up more finely. This is a really simple technique. If you've got a knife with a slight curve on it, you're literally just rocking forwards and backwards. And you just keep doing that until your spices are finely chopped. You want them quite fine. You don't want to kind of end up having a big sort of lump of chilli or ginger. You want to get a nice rounded flavour. As you can see, you know, I'm not a chef. I don't have spectacular knife skills, but I'm all about quick and delicious food, you know, and in the same way that everybody can make these. You know, it's not just quick because I'm a chef, because I'm not a chef. It's quick because it's just quick food. Okay, so we've got it all nicely finely chopped up, and now just add that into our sauce, and we're going to put in half a lime, which, if your lime's quite hard, if you roll it, push down quite hard and roll it, it will release the juice from the lime. And if you don't have a lemon squeezer, you can just use a fork and just twist your lime around. And you're literally just going to mix that together, and you've got your sauce. This sauce is delicious. You can use it on veggie noodles, but you can also use it as a dressing on salads, and it will keep in the fridge for 3 days. so you can kind of make a batch up and then have it. It's quite nice to leave it for a bit because it allows all the flavours to kind of meld together. Okay, so next we're going to do our noodles. And we're doing courgettes. This is enough to serve 2 people. If you're just doing it for yourself, you want to just use 1 courgette. And this is a lurch spiralizer, which is brilliant. There's a Lurch do another one, which is a kind of round, upright one, which apparently is also really good. These, as far as I know from people that have different kinds of spiralizers, these are the best. And you can get them on Amazon, they're really easy to get hold of. So one of the important things when you're spiralising is that you cut your courgette parallel to the end of the vegetable. Otherwise you'll end up with kind of half moons and you won't really have a lot of spirally, lovely, noodly shapes. And as you're twisting, you're also pushing this way. So you're pushing the courgette onto the blades. So here you have your beautiful noodles, this is such fun to do with kids as well, you know, they love this. You can also use other vegetables. You can use other hard vegetables, so things like carrots, butternut squash, sweet potato, beetroot, and you can make the most gorgeous vegetable noodle salad just by using different coloured vegetables. Sometimes, you know, if I'm not feeling like cold food, I will actually blanch my noodles. So blanching is where you literally just pour boiling water over them, you leave them for 2 minutes and then you take them out. And it does destroy some of the nutrients, but not as much as if you're going to cook it. That I do is sometimes I'll mix courgette noodles with rice noodles or a wheat-free spaghetti, something like that. Again, if I'm kind of not really feeling like I want to eat a fully raw meal, but I still want to get that raw goodness, I'll mix them up. Okay, so you now have your courgettes. Now the spiralizer will make really long noodles, which can be a bit of a pain when you're trying to get it in your mouth. So what I tend to do is I will just cut once across that way, once across that way, and that way you still have long noodly bits but not too long. So noodles into your mixing bowl. And this is where you're going to put everything into your mixing bowl and then mix it all up before you serve it. This is enough for 2 people. And now we're going to do our vegetables. So we've got red pepper. You can use red pepper, yellow pepper, orange pepper, any kind of pepper that you like. And we're just going to use a red pepper. Now, when you're doing this dish, I really recommend that you cut your red peppers as finely as you can, because it just makes it all a lot sort of softer and easier to eat with your noodles. If you make them too chunky, it's like, you know, you have a big mouthful of pepper that's not quite as subtle as you'd like it to be. And I'm slicing along the length of the pepper, so I'm making nice long thin strips like you would in a stir fry. This recipe was actually inspired by a noodle stir fry recipe, a cooked one. So I get a lot of my inspiration from cooked recipes, and then I just adapt them to make them raw. So here we've got some lovely asparagus, and with asparagus the end is really quite tough, and the way that you know where to chop the tough bit off so you don't waste anything is you just bend it and it will snap and leave the tough bit off. So you're holding it kind of quite far from the end, and where it naturally snaps, that's where you get rid of it. And this, I'm going to slice these really quite finely on a diagonal. If you've never tried raw asparagus before, it's delicious. Give it a go. I mean, even, quite often I'll just eat them just like this, or they're brilliant in dips if if you're doing a party or something, like as crudités. Asparagus is really yummy. Okay, in with your noodles. And then we've got 100 grams of shiitake mushrooms. Now the shiitake mushrooms are a really important part of the flavour of this dish. You can use normal mushrooms, but the shiitakes just make it extra special and yummy. And I'm cutting these, I'm just slicing them quite finely. And these will really absorb the yummy sauce as well. Mushrooms are brilliant for absorbing flavours in sauces. And they soften. The longer you leave them, the more they soften. And with this noodle dish actually will last. You can make it for supper one night and then eat it for lunch or supper the next day as well. And it just kind of improves with time. Flavours really marry and get really scrummy, delicious. And it kind of becomes more like the actual textures are really kind of quite cooked because everything softens so much. You can also use things like oyster mushrooms. They don't have as much of a kind of strong flavour as shiitake. If you don't like shiitake, oyster mushrooms are a really nice alternative. They're still quite oriental. So, and then we're going to put in half a red onion. Now with your red onion, this sort of stalky end, that's the end that makes you cry. So if you just leave it on, don't chop it off, you will have far fewer tears when you're slicing your onion. So I just kind of tend to strip the skin back, and then you're still leaving this stalky bit on the end. And then we're going to just finely slice, just get this skin off now, just really, really finely, as finely as you can, slice this onion. Onion can be quite a sort of strong flavour and quite hard to digest for some people. What I've discovered is if you chop it really finely, it's much easier to digest and much less likely to repeatedly. And then when you get near the stalky end bit, you just get rid of it. So when you're putting it in, just kind of scrunch it up so all your onion bits separate out. And we're then going to do a small handful of coriander. Again, when I use handfuls in recipes, which I do a lot, it's because it's not sort of the actual quantity is not crucial. It's really up to you how much you put in. I'm salivating already at the mere thought of eating this dish. It's so delicious. I can't wait for you to try it. I really recommend you go out and get all the ingredients and try this as soon as you can because it's so delicious. Okay, and then just whisk up your sauce again. Make sure it's all well mixed. Pour it over your noodles. And just give it a really good stir, toss it around till everything's really well coated. And as I said, you know, this recipe is enough for two, so either you can feed 2 people with it, or you can make enough and have some for the next day as well. Oh, it's smelling delicious. Yum. Okay, and the colours are just so beautiful, so I'm going to dish it up now. Ooh. Try and get it on my spoon. A very long noodle there. It's always kind of nice to finish it off with a few colourful vegetables on top, just to make the most of these delicious colours. And there you have the best raw noodle dish ever.